Hey YouTubers, Jeremy Vanderkratz with Signs by Van over here on the West Coast. Today we're going to be talking about how to sandblast Western red cedar. We've got a lot of folks asking us now, once the wood's all nice and planed down and ready to go, how is it that we transition and actually make probably one of our most common manufacturing practices, which is sandblasting cedar and or HDU. In this case, I'm going to walk you through a real quick, simple how-to, and let's just get right into it. So, we start with our base material. Again, you could use HDU, you could use Western red cedar, you can use all kinds of different woods, any types of substrate that'll sandblast, you could do using this technique. What I have right here is some sandblasting stencil made by Hartco, and we've found that this is the best stuff on the market. We've tried a bunch of different stuff, and the Hartco, it's called S930 medium or high tack is the best stuff that you can actually use. So what we do is you run your sandblasting stencil through a plotter, and what that plotter will do is it's actually going to take your design that you've created and it's going to cut this stencil. Back in the day, we used to actually take an X-Acto knife and we'd have to hand cut this out, but now with modern technology, it's actually sped up the process quite a bit. But for the sake of this video today, I just did a simple square cut out of this. So I've already done a little bit already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of this up, and you'll see that now I've got a design taking shape, and it's as simple as it is, it's actually a design. I'm going to go ahead with my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to continue this row of squares. Okay? So now that we have that, I'm going to pull out the last piece, and now we've got something that looks like a design. Okay? It's very simple, but again, this is just for the video. Now, what I'm going to do is take the rest of my miscellaneous material that I'm not going to be using, pull that down, and then this would be waste, so we would throw this away. But actually, we don't like to throw this away. We repurpose it and use it for borders, but we could talk about that later if you guys have questions. So now we have our design. It's a square inside of a square, or excuse me, it's a rectangle inside of a rectangle. What we do next is we take a transfer right transfer tape, okay, and we pull this down, pull it out a little bit more there we go, and we transfer this onto the face of the sandblasting stencil. Alright, go ahead and cut all the excess off, okay, and you can use a ruler to do this. Just because this is such a simple piece and it doesn't have to be perfect, I'm just going to freehand this, okay. Got all four sides cut off, okay. And now, this is the second step, so you want to make sure that this is, now it's funny enough, we actually use a rolling pin, which are used in kitchens for rolling out dough. This works incredibly well. The bigger and heavier they are, the better they are at actually making sure that the transfer happens really clean, okay? So now that we have that done, this is kind of the tricky part. So if I were to have a beautiful set of lettering that went all the way across this, I would line it up, I'd measure from top of letter to top of board, bottom letter to bottom board, and make sure everything is completely where I want it to be. Because if you're off by a 1/16 of an inch, you go out and sandblast that piece of wood, and there's going to be problems because you can't go back. Once you sandblast, you cannot go back. So this process is pretty tedious, and you want to make sure that you pay a lot of attention to it. And what our next step is basically you take a piece of tape, okay, and once you have that on there, absolutely perfect. You're guaranteed that all your measurements are right, it's straight, it's beautiful, it's perfect. You put some tape on it. And typically the tape would go at the top, okay? You'd fold your piece back, just like I'm gonna do here, okay? Fold your piece back. And now that tape's gonna ensure that absolutely no matter what, wherever you've laid it out, that's where it's going to be. So if it's straight when you put the tape on it, it's gonna be straight when you flap this back down and you apply it on the sign. Again, take your rolling pin, okay, that's on there real good, peel. Now one thing to note about when you're peeling this stuff off, low and slow, not up like this, because you'll pull the stuff up and you'll actually tweak the sandblast stencil. You want to go low, and you can actually work it back, kind of like bobbing and weaving back and forth a little bit, like just like that, comes right off. Voila. Now, once you get to this point, one more time, just for good measure, You don't want this stuff coming off. Again, this is the S930 Hardco Sandblast stencil. The medium and or high tack is typically not going to come off, but you just want to make sure you do your due diligence and put plenty enough pressure. At this point, if I were to go out and sandblast this whole board, which I wouldn't do that because I've got a little funky thing here, everything on this entire board would be blasted down except for where this tape is at, and it works incredibly well, and it's a very effective way to make signage dimensional. And by the way, when you use the right wood material, you use the right stencils, the right design, this is a very cost-effective, very neat way to make an incredible looking sign. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Signs by Van. You can reach us on our Instagram, our YouTube, or our Facebook. We'd be happy to walk you guys through the process. If you have any other questions about products or materials or anything like that, we're happy to help. Again, it's Jeremy with Signs by Van. Thanks for watching.